So my name is Chef Jeff Manson, and she just said, um, I spent my entire life from the time I was a child just wanting to be a chef and watching the different shows where, like, say, Three's Company, Jackson Culinary School, loved it, opened his own restaurant, awesome. And that's like how I viewed my life. You know, I wanted to go to culinary school, I wanted to own my own restaurant, and that was like life goals. But life got in the way of that for me. The family business was construction, not my particular family. My immediate family's business was addiction, but my uncles, they were all contractors, and out of necessity, I went to work for them when I was young, and learned, to install floors, install air conditioners, work on houses and stuff, and that's what I was doing. I put my hopes and dreams in the back burner just to, get a paycheck or whatever. And but I always still wanted to do that. I would say, yeah, I want to go to culinary school and be a chef. And so I ended up opening like a retail clothing and accessory store that had tattooing and body piercing as part of it, kind of like something you see on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was 1997, and I'd been like installing air conditioners and doing duct systems for my uncle. Use that money to pay to open up the shop, Legends in Fresno. And it was interesting because that was my first taste of like an industry where partying was the rule and not the exception. It wasn't something you did after work; you did it before work and then during work. Definitely after work as well. I developed some issues with the law, issues with drugs, and I ended up like pissing away that business. My son died, and I spent like I can't remember, 6 years, basically slamming a bunch of meth and just running real hard trying to kill myself, and well, that didn't work. So I was left with the wreckage of that when I finally was able to really look at what was going on. We had another kid, a daughter, a year later, and by then I was already in the downward spiral of just destruction. We ended up losing our house, and I went back to work for my uncle doing the air conditioning stuff again, like always. And it was good to have something to fall back on. And we tried it again. Opened another shop. This one we did it was also a supply shop. And we had like a state-of-the-art touch screen, like computers set up with all kinds of flash, and it was pretty awesome. So autoclave for a Ritter and Mid-Mark autoclave dealer. Did a lot of piercings. I did seminars at Fresno State on piercing, tattooing, and all that stuff. I had a couple radio shows, and it was Tattoo Tuesdays, and then we did piercings on Thursday. Tattoos on the rock station in town, and the piercing was on like the popular music station, and it lasted for a while. I mean, I had an end because I was paying a lot of advertising to their parent company, so that was my end. They wanted to do something like that. I was there. So so I ended up, getting all strung out again, and I left one of my so-called friends inside my shop, and they closed the security gates and all that. And, he basically pried the gates open, emptied it, and my ex-wife, for some reason, didn't maintain the insurance, probably because I was paying all the interest. I don't know, but yeah, so that was just a loss. Fast forward, so all the stuff I was doing when I was running amok caught up with me, and I developed like several pending cases. I remember when I initially went in recovery, initially quit. It was October 15th, 2005, 2005, and or 2006. I remember 2006. And by then it was too late. I went to court. I had all these charges that were hanging over my head, and they remanded me the bail and the lawyer and all that stuff. It no longer worked. So I was sitting there in jail. I had been sober for months, and I'm just thinking, wow, how much my life sucked, and blaming everybody but me, because of course I wasn't accountable for anything. nothing was my fault. And they put me in a program, and that was the Salvation Army in Fresno. And it's a great program. Spent 8 months in there, came out sober and happy and looking forward to life. And it was then I had my first epiphany. I said, I'm going to do this. I always wanted to be a chef. This is what I want to do with my life. And I picked up the family. I moved to LA, Burbank, and started attending the California School of Culinary Arts in Pasadena. It's at the time the best culinary school in the state. And in true addict, alcoholic / restaurant style, I went all out. I had perfect attendance, highest honors. I was commencement speaker at graduation. I just did it. I did it well because that's what I wanted to do things. And I graduated from there. And I'm like, what now? I started consulting and helping develop menus for some places in Fresno, and looking for something better or different. It just wasn't doing it for me. And these mom and pops didn't have the money that I was used to, living on and stuff. So I ended up finding a job working at a movie studio catering company in LA. And the owner was awesome. He was kind of a local celebrity. He had his own cooking show. Employees, they're all assholes. You know how it is. I would fit right in. And thanks to him, having faith in me and giving me a chance here. Sure, he talked to some of the people I had consulted for, but he put me to work, and it didn't pay much, and it was under the table and no overtime, straight time. But it was working on the movie sets and those studios, and so I worked at Sony Studios, CBS Studios. I worked at various little studios all throughout LA, out in the desert, just wherever I could. And then on the weekends he would set up his movie catering trucks out of this smokehouse he was remodeling it, right? It was a restaurant he used to go to, and he was a kid, and he set up the trucks out in front of the restaurant. We sold barbecue. It was awesome, good food. I learned a lot. You don't learn in culinary school how to barbecue like that. You just don't. But I, like with everything in my life, I kept my eyes open, tried to keep my mouth shut, did my utmost. In my life, I've always just pushed myself way too hard. I've had something to prove to everybody, to myself, my family, people who didn't believe in me or whatever, something to prove. So I pushed myself till I burned out, and I ended up starting to use again. And I didn't really know why. I just knew I did, and I ended up pissing that job off. And let's see, I was still driven to succeed though. I got 3 jobs, 3 different towns, and I would go on the bus because it took too long to drive anywhere in LA. And I'd go to the first job and I'd work, go to the second one on the bus, the third one, and then I get picked up afterwards because there's no way I couldn't even stand up, to wait for the bus. So I did that for, and so I was using again, drinking again. My marriage was on the rocks again, and I was like, I'm done with this crap. So I ended up getting divorced, and I moved back in with the same uncle, the one that taught me air conditioning, all that. And well, I started talking to a girl I knew in high school. She was awesome, and I started talking to her again. She just messaged me on Facebook. She said, "So you're a chef now?" And I said, "Why, yes, I am a chef." By this time, I've been working in, management chef capacity for 3 or 4 years, and she invited me over to her house like a couple weeks later, and I went over there and I never left. And we share this room right here in this beautiful house, and we have 2 kids in custody of my other daughter, and my mother lives here with us, and right now my brother's staying. Yeah. So from there, me and her, we moved to Sacramento to stay with my mom and kind of get away from, you know, running. We were changing my geography. Oh, and I should have been changing the way I was thinking, but I was sober again. Life was good. So my shelf life is 3 or 4 years. It always was. I don't. Um, so go to Sacramento, and I get a job as a cook in a bowling alley that's also a family fun center. And I did my thing, above and beyond and over. Within 2 months, I was sous chef, and within a year, I was the executive chef there. And yeah, that was going well. And like always, they needed something. I was there. It was uh, convention. There were conventions going on, or all the bowling leagues were coming in and doing their deal. I was there. I worked just my ass off, worked my life away. I never missed a day. I'm not into that. It bothers me. I have OCD as far as attendance goes. Comes with the territory of being a manager. The way I was though is any challenge, any hours, any consequences didn't matter. Personal consequences, not the same. I took a day off when my first son was born and 2 days off when my second was born, and right back to work running my restaurants. So I left that bowling alley and I went to work for this guy I had interviewed with before, but I wasn't feeling his pay, and he upped the pay a little bit. I lowered my expectations a little bit because I believed in what he was doing, and I went to work for this guy named Abe who owned a cafe downtown in Sac, right across from the Capitol, Cafe Roma, and he had his issues. He was a really good guy. He did like corporate sales for FedEx, and he always wanted to own a restaurant. Didn't have the He didn't have the skill set to run it or the time, and it was losing money. And I went there and I turned it around, and we were turning a profit. Things were good. I started drinking again there though, because I was beat up and I ended up using, and that job went bye bye. He came to work, smelled booze on my breath. It was the day of the engine bike race, and I was going to be interviewed by the news, and get nervous and unsure of myself, and it would trigger me to drink. So there's going to be a theme going on in my story. So he came, and after that, it was always calling me and talking to me and coming by, standing too close to me, smelling my breath, and it was really just horrible. I mean, the guy would come and drink wine there. His wife would come and get drunk with her friends. But I explained to him what was going on. I had 2 shots of tequila because I was nervous about being interviewed by the news people. And it didn't matter. You know how it is. Do as I say, not as I do. With his place, he ended up deciding to pull the plug on it right when things had turned around. It took me about 9 months to get it where we were turning profit. Went from making like $100 a day, over $1,000 a day, and I don't know. There was just issues, like stuff not getting bills, not getting paid, not because he didn't have the money, he didn't have the time. The parking pass not getting paid. I would walk the rent payments over to the city building, and to make the payments for him. Everything had to be cash. I had to pick up all the supplies from like Costco, and so hard to run good numbers doing that. Anyways, Smart and Final and Costco, they're not really wholesale suppliers. But I did my best, and once again, the restaurant culture got me. I was in a lot of pain, trying to deal with my fatigue and anxiety and whatnot, drink. So it was really fun until it wasn't, the whole thing. And I left there, and I took a job with a company called Big City Chefs, and it was they just moved to the Sacramento area from the Bay Area. They were based out of Emeryville, and they had a lot of like upscale, high-end clients, and started doing events for them. And I picked up another job at a pizzeria in Folsom. Did that, ran some good numbers. I decided that Folsom wasn't good for me. Went to work for like an upscale community in their private clubhouse. It was a $7 million clubhouse building. I was just in love with it when I went to interview. I said, I have to work here. And I got the job. I did work there. And work I did, I went in at $50,000 grade pay, with a bonus based upon every $1,000 I saved them. I got $100 from what they were over budget like by $100,000 a year. So I did that. I hit all my bonus numbers. They had no cap on it, so I was making money hand over fist. And I was totally sober. I was going to AA in the morning, and then I'd go to Heritage Park to the Royal Palm Pub, and I go right after that. I do my admin paperwork, and then I run lunch, stay an expedite dinner, and go home. And I did that, and I covered every shift that anybody missed, and I did scheduling and the inventory, and worked on the budget, and GL, and everything, and ran my lunch shift and expedited for dinner, and just busted my ass. And once again, a couple years later, I ended up drinking again, started to drink again, because it was a lot, But my job with Big City Chefs, it was really, 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 really taking off. I got some really high end sports figures like Ramon Sessions when he was with the Kings. He was my personal chef client. I was cooking for a guy who owned a bunch of like a real famous optical surgeon in Sacramento, Dr. Martel Eye. I took care of it, went and cooked for his family and did events over there for his wife. I was teaching private culinary classes at upscale apartment complexes in their clubhouses. They had cameras on me. It was pretty awesome. I did a few news spots. I was featured in Food Factory Night Shift. I wasn't supporting cook or help put the food together, but I was still there. And I was feeling like I had gotten where I wanted to be. Things were good. Now I had to hold on to it, and that was rough. My manager appreciated the work I was doing at the clubhouse. He gave me a raise from 50 to 60,000, and really a better bonus structure, and that was awesome. And I got a promise of the next year, when the year began, to go straight 75,000, no bonus. Just do the 75 straight, because I was running really good numbers, but I couldn't decrease the costs anymore. I couldn't do it. I'm not what's the limitations that the corporation had placed on me, and the service expectations. So yeah, I would go to work and I drink, and I would have a couple shots here and there during the night, go out and vape, take a shot. Yeah, to deal with the stress and all that, or whatever my excuses were. That's what I was doing. And meanwhile, my health is failing. I'm super fat. I'm super allergic. I've got anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, and I've got panic disorder now. And my depression I've had depression my whole life, and it really just was owning me. I had to be medicated for major depressive disorder with and also with the generalized anxiety disorder, and they put me on Valium for the panic disorder. Panic would get so bad that it would close my vocal cord, and I would be suffocating. It's horrible. And so here I am. I'm all on these prescription drugs, and I'm drinking, and I'm just pissing away my life, to be honest. And it was just normal for me to hurt myself like that, to go above and beyond, to fill in whenever, to never say no, and nothing I couldn't do, nothing I wouldn't do to keep my restaurant going, to keep my crew going, or so that my crew could get a day off. Somebody in my crew, I'd come in and cover, because, that was my job. I thought to do everything all the time. So I'm having all these health problems, and I having a lot of pain, like in my groin. Couldn't stand. It hurt so bad. I didn't know what was going on. Went to the doctor, an orthopedic doctor, and found out that I had pretty bad arthritis in my hip. So 40 years old, I had arthritis in my hip so bad that I couldn't stand for more than a few minutes at a time. And being 300 pounds didn't help, and all the alcohol and all the way I was abusing my body and never resting. I never took vacations. I never took sick days. But my wife and I would take like 3 days off and drive up to Portland to catch a concert and then drive down the coast, stay a night in Oregon on the coast, stay a night in Eureka, and come back. And we did that like 3 times a year. And that's how I kept my batteries like at minimum capacity to function. And I did all this. I became the regional head chef for Big City Chefs for Sacramento. Became their head culinary instructor, and I was working 2 jobs 7 days. Like I'd be lucky to get a day off. I try to get a Monday off with my wife, but on Monday I'd have to put an order in or something. It's never a day off. So falling apart. I decided to take a job for a friend of mine in the Bay Area, and my hips real bad. I had some previous damage to my neck and my back, and I moving, and I have to move my mom in with us, and I end up getting suckered into moving my brother out. And I take 2 pills, 2 pain pills, no big deal. And then a couple hours later, I asked my mom for Vicodin she had or whatever she gave me 2 Vicodin, took that. And I ended up flipping and moving the truck on the freeway, just taking out 2 trees, 150 feet of chain link fence, and destroying everything I own pretty much, and all my mom's stuff, and nearly dying. Broke my spine. Went to work the next day. Beat up, bruised up, seatbelt bruises. I was friggin' unconscious in the hospital, and I went to work the next day. I'm fine. I had to go to the emergency room first and tell them I was doing great, and I just needed a release because my boss wouldn't let me work until I had a release from a doctor. So I just told the doctor, I was in a car accident yesterday, but I'm fine. I need a release to get back to work. And I went right back to work. Well, the anxiety is there, the depression is there, the pain is there, and I'm withdrawing off of pills now. So I'm drinking at work. Good idea, right? Drinking. This guy, my boss, was in recovery, so bad idea. But drinking at work, get into it with a subordinate who wasn't being a subordinate, and ended up quitting. Just quitting. I just moved to the Bay Area, rented a house, wrecked a truck, and I ended up quitting. I took a job in the city at Haight-Ashbury at the market. I was an executive chef there. And there I didn't drink much. I'm not going to drink. So I started taking THC pills because everybody else there was stoned. I thought, why can't I do it? I can't, because like everything else in my life, I do it to the extreme, right? I take a bunch of them, feel loaded and stupid. I ended up getting fired from that job. So I took a consulting job helping some people launch five brands for delivery-only restaurants in 2018. And I launched it for them too. Yeah, I did. I got called into work, and I'd already been drinking for the day, so I went back to drinking after that. And my boss came in, and I had booze on my breath, and I quit that job because I'm going to do this. I'm just going to go. Here I am, quit my jobs, nothing going on. Not on drugs, but I just found a friend in San Francisco that I knew from Fresno, and I knew he did get drugs, so it was already like lining up just right for me. And I decided now was the time to take out a huge loan, max out all my cards, and open my own business. Yeah, so I decided to do that. I rented a food truck, developed the menu and branding. Got signed up with all the delivery companies, and rented a really expensive commissary for the truck, and for a really expensive truck with zero income of my own, and a $25,000 loan. Yeah, micro loan. Needless to say, I fucked that office. I mean, to be honest, I ended up starting to do meth again, just hanging out in the truck and working on the truck and putting my signage on the truck, this and that, taking way too long and drinking a bunch of alcohol to mellow it out. That went down the drain with my credit and everything else. And I'm thinking, I can't keep doing this in my life. Why is it that I relapse every 3 years or so? And whenever something's really going good in my life, and I need to focus on what I'm doing, that's when I have the worst time. I've been on the outs with my wife. She's mad at me because I'm using. She doesn't put up with that stuff, and she won't let me come back in the house unless I go to rehab. So grudgingly, she's on the side of the road in my truck. I call her. I'm like, okay, I'll go to rehab. Let's go. I went to rehab to the camp in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and it was great. It was super eye-opening. I started to learn more about why I did things I did, um, why I was self-medicating and all that. And it was awesome. I came out of there ready to just, you know, oh, first my body started to fail. Here, I gotta tell you this story. It's funny. So I'm at the camp. I've been there a couple weeks. Already done with most of the withdrawing off the alcohol and drugs, and all of a sudden I'm not feeling too good in my stomach. So I go lay down on the bunk, and it feels like someone's hacking at me with an axe. Oh, and it's rhythmic too. I'm getting worse and worse. And they call my roommate calls the EMT who comes up there, and my blood pressure is so high I'm starting to stroke out. My gallbladder was the bile ducts were obstructed, and my gallbladder was trying to pump that bile, and it couldn't. So they called an ambulance. I got shot up with morphine, which is the last thing I wanted at that time, and I got raced to the emergency room for emergency surgery. And I'm thinking, wow, I've destroyed my body, destroyed my career, I've destroyed my marriage, I've destroyed everything. I really need to make this recovery work this time. So I've had these periods of success followed by me screwing it over and over again my whole life. And so I'm bound and determined to make this work. And I get out, and it's good. I'm going to outpatient, and I'm doing, I'm going back to alumni night at the camp, and I'm driving to work one day, and I'm lighting a cigarette. I lean down to light a cigarette, and I look up, and I live in the mountains, and there's a lot of windy roads, and I was too far over. So I tried to correct, and the truck shoots across the road and flips over a cliff, like a 15, 20-foot cliff, and it rolls a few times. I'm in there. Of course, like always with all these accidents, I'm totally fine, right? I mean, I'm beat up a little bit. It's not a big deal. I had a bunch of water bottles in the truck, and they're flying all around, and they really cushioned my fall. I was wet, but I was totally fine, which is crazy. My truck, not so much. I got really upset. I drank, and then I used. So after like being in a program, spending 60 days clean, working it just got to be too much. So that was my reservation I had, that I would drink or use. Like I would tell myself if my mom died or for some other reason, I would do it, and I had to come to terms with the fact I have reservations. I spent the next 6 months, and I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. All this wreckage and problems and just everything. I didn't want to stop, or I didn't know how. And I went back to the camp. Thank God that I went back at the camp, and it was just the stuff I feel like I missed when my gallbladder went out and I couldn't do the classes and all that stuff. I feel like I picked up the rest of what I needed now. And I made sure when I got out of there that I went to IOP and then outpatient and then relapse prevention. And I went and got assessed by a mental health provider, and I was they said I had ADD and it was unmedicated. And a lot of people who have ADD that's undiagnosed, they have a tendency to use, especially the speed that I was using. And it helps you to focus and all that, which kind of connected the dots to why it was when I needed to focus the most that I wanted the drugs the most. And I wanted to learn more. So in February, I did my last class with Big City Chefs, and the pandemic just decimated that business. It's still there, but it just don't work. So I went on unemployment and started school to be a drug and alcohol counselor. And I took some time to get to know my wife again. and myself again, or maybe for the first time, and to get to know my children for the first time. I took care of them, got them to school, took care of their needs, took care of my mom. And I learned a lot about being a human being. That I don't have to do everything to success. I don't have to be the first one to jump up and solve everyone's problems at my expense. I learned that it's okay to say no. It's okay to weigh a decision, the pros and cons, the benefits of what an action cannot cause, and make an informed decision. I know when to say when. I know what's tricky footing for me as far as my recovery goes. I'm working at a opioid therapy program. I'm almost done with my internship. I've got many more hours than I need, but just not enough of the particular core function hours. Every day I get to go in there and I make an impact, and I help people. I help the staff. I help the patients. I help myself by staying immersed in recovery. I've done so many trainings. I'm just hungry for information, more information about co-occurring disorders and about dual diagnosis and the different types of therapies. I've dedicated my life to helping people, and I want to help people in our industry because so many of us just are like me, or like a lot of us. They just want to handle everything. They want to succeed no matter what. They put the needs of the business in front of their own health, their own needs. I know chefs that have had heart attacks on the line and come back to work the same day. I know so many chefs that are drunk, and even more that smoke weed. And I mean, you don't have to live like that. The industry's geared to chew people up and spit them out. That's the whole thing. I mean, we need to do some serious reform because it's wrong. And no matter how far you get, no matter how much you accomplish, get her for the governor, cook for the governor, Ryan. No matter how far you get, in the end, you're there. You have to deal with the repercussions of the life you live, choices you make. Today I don't have to drink or use over things. My mom's not doing well. I don't think she'll be around long. And I know that if something does happen, I don't have to drink or use over it. And I don't know, it's priceless to me. I'm sorry if I went long, but I just felt like sharing sharing a it's priceless to me. My best day. So all these cliches are so true. I mean, I'm not like a AA Nazi or whatever. I'm not into the cults. I did go to NA, and it did help me to get sober and create my life. AA helped me get sober, but I can't buy into the whole drinking the Kool-Aid thing. For me, it's been learning about the different kinds of recovery, and that in conjunction with therapy and medication from my mental health providers has gotten me to a place where I'm comfortable being me. I'm happy with my life, and I can go out there and help other people now. I'll leave it at that one.